Okay,
Yo,
cool.
I heard you on Developer on Fire, man. That was really, really good.
You
Um,
checked it out?
yeah, I was listening to it at work. People kept on wondering why I was laughing out loud. Like, it's funny, but
Man, your boy Dave is the real deal, man. I really like that cat.
he is.
Yeah.
He is. Um, I replaced Hansel Minutes with him and never looked back. So,
Why you got to choose one or the other then?
because I don't know. I don't know. It's I maybe I'm a loyal. I don't want to say listener, and so I was like, Dave had me early on in his show, and he kind of like I kind of credit him with like, for lack of a better term, like the following that I have. After I was on .NET Rocks, he reached out to me, and he kind of extended, for me, um, regardless of reality people respecting me as a developer, and like I'm very thankful. And he also gave me some really good advice about just ask. So it's his advice that led to basically me having some really recognized thought leaders on my YouTube channel. Jessica Kerr, aka Jesse Tron, right? I think that's her full name.
Uh-huh.
Mark Seaman, Scott Blashin, Ted Newart. Like I had some big wigs on my channel, and it's just me. Like I'm a nobody, but thanks to Dave's advice of just ask people, I was able to pretty much satisfy my little bucket list of my little career of getting some really well, getting probably some of the top minds in the industry, at least in this decade, on my YouTube channel. And so, like, I don't know, that probably scatterbrained for the question you asked me about why do I have to replace Council Minutes with Developer on Fire? It's just me thinking out loud. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, shoot, that's cool. That's what we do. I mean, they both have merit. Dave is he's got a really top-notch program though, man. I really have a lot of respect for him, and I just like him as an individual.
Yeah, I root for him. I hope I hope he doesn't take the wrong way, but I root for him because I root for the underdog. Like I don't. I mean, he has a lot of followers, but I don't think I'm not sure if that whole law of attraction has like locked in where momentum just takes place and everything just automatically he just or should I say everything just gravitates towards him. That whole abundance or momentum effect. But like I really do like wish everything happens to him because he's been going hard and consistent for I think close to 2 years now.
Yeah,
So that compound effect that should be kicking in.
yeah, man,
So
he is definitely consistent. I noticed because I've been listening to his blog before. I mean, his podcast before he asked me to talk with him on there. I've been listening to him for at least, man, 8 or 9 months. And one thing that I noticed is that he is extremely consistent. People email me all the time asking when am I gonna put up another blog post. Be like, dang, he doing live video, audio podcasts, and he can get in two of them a week just about. I can't even do a blog post a month. I'm like, man, he on his grind for real.
yeah, yeah. How did that whole thing work out? Were you surprised when he reached out to you? Were you expecting it? What?
I was not expecting it. He shot me an email and we went back and forth through email a couple of times, and I was like, do you know who you requesting this of? And he was like, I do. And like, I tend not to tone things down. Like I am who I am. I talk how I talk, and that might not be good for you and what you trying to do. And he was just like, no, let's keep it real. I was like, shit, them the magic words for me. Let's do it. So we did it.
It was a really good show, man. The only thing is, Is it not exhausting to always attempt to articulate the Black experience in America?
Is it? I don't. Man, that is a very loaded question, bro. So I don't really look at it as that. I look at it as just telling my own experience, which just so happens to coincide with the Black experience. I really don't speak for all Black people, but I know that there's a lot of in common, like we discussed on this thing. The type
Uh,
of Black person that identifies with the struggle, there's just going to be a lot of similarities in the things that we go through. So I just tell it how I see it, how I
yeah,
lived it, and leave it at that.
yeah, but I guess my question is, don't you ever get tired of every time you talk about it, you relive it? Or is it just me where whenever I talk about experiences, my mind actually convinces the rest of my soul or my body to relive it? Like, I mean, I fell out with a cop a couple weeks ago. I was seeing red, you know, and every time I go to work, I keep reliving that experience and how angry I got and how sick and tired of it always being a double standard. And I told him that.
Yeah.
And then he told me to walk off, and his other cop buddies, the blue wall. And I came back, and I was still telling him about himself because I didn't care anymore. I got so sick and tired of just taking it, you know. And it feels good to tell someone about themselves. It feels good to tell someone when they're not even conscious that subconsciously they're a racist a-hole. And that's the truth, and that's it felt good. But anyway,
Well, I'm glad you feel better, but I will say, I don't. That was a bit reckless, bro. You have a
it's not
responsibility
reckless at all.
to take care of yourself, man.
It's not reckless at all. They've been violating my civil rights my whole life because I'm a second class citizen. I get sick and tired of it. You know.
Oh, I don't doubt
You,
that
you,
part. I'm
you,
saying, but
you,
no
you're,
matter
you're,
what, there's still a way. There's a right way and a wrong way to approach a lot of given situations. I mean, obviously, it worked out well for you, but you probably don't want to make
yeah,
a
I didn't
habit
get shot or pistol whipped. Yeah, it worked out well. I'm, I'm not in the county jail defending my butthole. Yeah, it worked out well.
of.
You know? But I guess it's exhausting to talk about it.
Yeah.
But yo, I get so sick and tired of always laying down, and just taking it. And I mean, the only difference between him and I is he's sponsored by the city to violate my rights, and that's it. And I mean, after a while, I just get sick of it. And I know enough white folks that something happens to me, people ask questions. There'll be a town hall meeting, you know, things that don't happen to black folks. I'm connected to some white people. They really do care about me. I have like a white mother, and questions will be asked, and there's money to float around, so things can happen. So I'm done talking about it, but seriously, man, sometimes I just got to get this off my chest because I get sick and tired of it. All right, I'm done.
I mean, no, bro. Our agreement is to just always keep it 100, and if that's what you feeling right now, that's what's gonna come out right now. I don't. That I've dealt with, like, I don't know what it's like down there in Miami and how the police are. And again, keep in mind, I'm well into my 50s now, so in my life I had many unpleasant interactions with the police. Some went well, some not so well. We were talking to an individual now who has lived through, and so my is now being partially shaped by the wisdom that age brings. So I'm certainly not disagreeing with you. At the end of the day, like you, and I don't know what your situation is because I'm really not even talking to your situation. It's more if somebody's listening to you right now, somebody's listening to this, and it's some brother he listening to it, and he's like, "Yeah, man, Scott told out the police. I'm finna do the same thing." I want to encourage that behavior, but I want
Why not
everybody
be
to
a man?
keep their
Why
wits.
not be a man and be heard?
I don't think that
Why is there a
you are
double
less
standard?
of a man if you use your intellect and situations wisely. I think that's actually more of a man.
What, using your intellect and saying, you know what, I accept that I'm a second class citizen. I accept that it's okay for white folks to talk to a cop when the cop is wrong a certain type of way, but I need to know my role. I've been doing that my whole life.
Well, so again, I don't know what happened in your particular situation, but I certainly would advise any person, black or white, especially if you black, if you with the police, for you to keep your wits about yourself and use your intellect to navigate that situation in the safest way possible for you and your family. And I
Yeah.
certainly would not look any lower or less on the individual if they decided to not engage in some type of conversation that could escalate to something else. Now, however, I didn't say that you can't tell them about themselves. I didn't say that you can't try to get your point across. I just don't think you should do it in a way that is going to be aggressive and potentially escalate the situation. Like nobody wins in that. And then, of
Oh,
course, there
I
are other
mean,
things
they
that you
win.
do. Well, I know. I mean, if you really care, you can go to town hall meetings. You can get an attorney. There are many things at your disposal other than in the
No,
moment potentially escalating the situation.
there's always channels that it has to go through, and those channels aren't always open for everybody.
That's certainly
Period.
true, sir. Yes, sir. That is definitely true. But at the end of the day, what's the problem you're trying to solve?
Get
But yeah,
tired
I
of
hear
laying it
you.
down.
The struggle is real, bro.
All right, let's talk about functional programming.
Functional programming. Let's talk about it. What's up?
Yo, you crossed over yet?
So I've been
You drink
dabbling
the
more and more
Kool-Aid?
into functional. I'm still not in the pure just yet because my workload is so demanding.
Man up.
Well, for sure. When I'm home on the side, my little home hours certainly do need to go towards more of that. But I've been spending the last maybe 4 months or so. I don't remember the last time we chopped it up, but I've been spending a lot of time getting AWS certifications and
Oh shoot.
on infrastructure and becoming cloud fluent up in this motherfucker.
Yeah, so let me
So
tell you
right
this.
now, that's what it
Your
is.
employer is not going to appreciate me communicating this to you.
Uh huh.
Oh, y'all bill at like $130 an hour, court to court. I hope you got your own company registered. You got your own. You got your corporation registered.
No, bro, I ain't know nothing like that. I'm just trying to.
Why not? I'll
I
do
mean,
it
I
for you.
am certified. I got two of the certifications, but I'm just doing it to help out the
Oh,
spot where I'm at. I ain't really
A-
trying to do nothing.
AWS and Azure. I saw the bill rate, and what I saw was like 130 an hour.
Yeah, I done
I
had a
want that type
couple
of
of they have certainly my email offered me all these different positions and my LinkedIn profile. I'm getting all these little things, but no, I'm not really interested in doing nothing like that. I really enjoy the place that I work. Like it's
money. Yeah.
a place that I work, and they pay me what they can. I'm sure they don't pay me Silicon Valley salaries. I'm extremely comfortable, and I just love what I'm doing, and I love the people that I do it with.
That's good.
Yeah.
I thought my reality in the past was reality in general of just always working with developers that have lower standards and not being able to convince a middle manager that it's not normal to always be putting out fires in production.
Oh
And
my god! In production,
yeah, but
normal.
anyway, so I say that because knock on wood, I'm with a company where I actually have authority, and
Oh, congratulations.
yeah, and so like I've been interviewing juniors and seniors, not grill them on how do you prove your code works, and
Hmm.
as soon as I hear anything that deals with manual.
Man,
Well,
light.
with junior developers, I give them a break because unfortunately they were probably mentored by horrible, quote unquote, senior developers.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's like I have an opportunity to basically orchestrate the shop that I want. How I see professional software being developed. I mean, you ask me all these questions, do I have this experience, that experience, and then for the longest you disqualified me, and by the time I got my weight up and I leveled up, where you couldn't disqualify me, I realized that none of your employees even do that. But you required me to do it for you to hire me.
Right.
Anyway, but no, so I'm enjoying it. It's something I realized is like I didn't realize how hard people fight against test automation. It's making me believe that I'm really an extremist.
No, you're not an extremist. You are correct. That, yeah, bro. Don't even get me started on how difficult it is to change a culture, even for something that is for their own betterment. Back then, we talked about this on Twitter as much as you can't talk about things on Twitter. Me and a couple of guys was chatting. One of the guys asked the question, "What is it that you used to think was true about software, and then you changed your mind?" And when I was fresh out of college, I certainly thought that everyone would want to choose the best tool for the job, the best technique, the best process. Technically, superior decisions would rule the day. Right away, that is rarely ever the case. There's always some agenda, some personal
politics for humans.
preferences. Yep, politics.
It's what separates humans from animals. Politics,
among other things. So yeah, I'm not surprised at all that you are having a hard time do things that's even in their own best interest.
well, so luckily, the CEO, I mean, she granted me authority. So, I mean, there's been a couple sessions where she was like, oh, by the way, this isn't about you guys being open to some of the techniques that Scott is trying to teach us. No, this is required. We are going to this. This isn't like, oh, we get to learn something new. No, you're either on board and you're going to apply this, or we need to have a
Get
talk.
the fuck
I'm
out
like,
of here. Yeah,
oh,
that's what's up. That's what's up, bro.
Because
so now
she's been burnt.
You need to
That's
make
the
sure
reason.
that you even more on top of your things because there's a lot of trust that's been given to you and been placed in you. So you need to make sure that you got all your shit together so that when you bring it to the group, that you can stand firm on the things that you're saying with high confidence.
Oh, I mean, the experience is already there. It's just at the end of the day, you still have to make sure that you take care of business. And so that's the part where it's somewhat challenging is how do you handle your business and at the same time continue to instill quality without overwhelming people and without burning them out. And so
Exactly.
that's been the game that I've been dancing around, trying to make sure that I don't go too Samuel Jackson on people, and to just make sure that I understand that they haven't really developed the habits that maybe I'm used to or that I'll hold myself to, and to just remember what Terrence said: evolution, not revolution. And
Man,
so
I
I
was
try to
just
take
gonna
that to
say it
heart.
again.
Yeah.
Good. That's what's up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that stuck
Yeah.
in me, man. I don't know if you heard the Legacy Code Rocks podcast I was on. I called you out on there too.
Man,
Yeah,
send me a link to it. I have
yeah.
not.
They
Man,
know who you are.
hit me on Facebook. No, hit me on Twitter with a link, man. I certainly want to check you out. Anywhere
Yeah.
you done been, I want to check you out, bro. If I'm not checking it out, it's because I don't know about it.
Okay. Yeah, I praised you on there, and they want to meet you.
Oh, that's
So
what's up.
yeah, I don't think you realize, and maybe you do, but the way you deliver, aka disseminate information, man, like you're like an Obama when it comes to delivery. Like, I mean, the way
I've
you
been
break,
called a lot of things, bro.
well, the way that you break down, ideas. Me, I go really scatterbrained, but like you really communicate it in like a humane way. for people to digest. And I
Well, I
mean,
appreciate the love. I feel all of that, but this is not the Terrence McGee show. This is the Scott Nimrod show. So
uh,
yeah, let's talk more about your position, man. I got a couple of questions for you.
what
First
question?
and paramount, you said that your CEO is a woman. I also have a woman CEO, and
All
it's
the developers are
fabulous
women,
working with her.
except for the recent junior developer that was brought on like last week. There's a team with 3 female developers plus the CEO.
Man, that's lovely. How is
I'm
it
the
like? Is
alpha. I'm the alpha.
okay. You sound excited and energized by that. Really don't quite know what to do with it, but you love it, so I love it. So,
Yeah.
man, what's it? I've been, if that's the case, well, like, what's the experience level there? Like, what's the tenure? Because they've been there 4 5 years. What's that looking like?
I'm not sure. They've been there for a little while. I'm not sure the actual duration, but they're seasoned developers.
Okay, good.
I don't think
So
I'll get in
then,
trouble for saying that.
yeah, you. So Dave on his podcast, I forget the woman's name. Man, Lord forgive me, but she
Sandy,
talks about the punish driven development.
I didn't hear that one, but I think I probably know what it means.
Okay, what you think it means? So
Okay.
take your best guess.
Punish driven development probably for me sounds like working within a legacy environment in which you're extremely constrained and you're not able to work to the best of your ability.
Okay, bro,
Um,
that's torture driven development.
okay. All right. What's punish driven
Yeah,
development?
that is definitely torturous. Yeah, so her thing about punish driven development is that punishment shouldn't be the motivation to get things done. So she wants people to take a different approach, which is basically, man, I wish I knew her name so she could get credit for this. Um,
Throw it in the notes.
is okay, yeah, we can find it and include it in the notes. Assume that everybody that's working with you wants to do their best. So you don't need to have things in place like if you fuck this up, then you got to spend the weekend fixing it alone or whatever. Like there's no negative consequences, no negative impact. You assume that every person wants to do their best with you, wants to write the best code possible. And if they're not doing it, more than likely it's because they don't know how. And since they already want to do the best and the correct thing, easier for management and peers to introduce ideas, achieve that desirable goal to add that value. Shit like, okay, this person, she's working by me, she wants to do better. If she is rejecting my notion of testing, it's because she honestly doesn't believe that it is better. To be a dick, she don't get it. And so my job then is to motivate her to see why this is better. And once she sees that it's better on her own, she will take measures to improve because she wants to do her best. And so it
So
doesn't need to be combative.
I have a difference of opinion. Um, based on my experience, I honestly
Uh-huh.
believe that not everybody wants to do their best. What I do believe is either people really care about the code base or they care about their own survival. Period.
Okay, so she talked about that too. So again, the message is assume that everyone wants to do their best. And you proceed with that mindset until they show you something different. And at that point, then you deal with that individual accordingly. But you get better results if you start out with the assumption that everyone is already trying to do their best. So threatening them, treating them like children, all these things are not necessary. You can have adult collaboration, show a better way, introduce a technique, show the value in it, and then the team on its own better outcomes. And if you certainly find someone that does not match that, then in that case, you need to have a conversation with that one, but don't treat the group that way. And
Yeah.
I found that to be very successful. Of course, you're gonna have some fucking clowns. I had to deal with a clown a while back. I won't even go into that. It was two clowns, but it was certainly the case where the team really bought into the notion of let's all do our best. And this person was like a wolf in sheep's clothing. He counted on the sympathy and the good-hearted nature of the rest of the team
And
and
they
to
were
get
doing the
away with
work.
stuff. And
They were doing the
mm-hmm.
work for him. That's what you were
Yeah,
alluding
now
to on
so
Dave's
much.
show.
Yeah, I won't even want to go into it because the wound is still fresh. But
So here's a question, and I kind of like I kind of wrote about this on LinkedIn, and no one liked it, so I guess I offended people. But what's your opinion on middle managers of software shops that are not technical?
um, I have zero problem with that. But again, it's going to depend on assuming that the person wants to do their best.
Do you think they could do their well? Doing your best is all relative because it's your best, is it not?
Well, sure, but yes, I mean they want to do everything within their power to generate positive outcomes for the organization. And so I have a new project manager, and
Oh, okay.
she is she leans on and trusts the developers, the information to heart, and then she processes it. So she's not trying to be to get outside of her lane. She stays in her lane and she brings in the appropriate people when it's necessary to get the input that she needs to make the right decision. So, to your middle management question, I certainly think that if there's a one or man, whoever is in position of middle management, and they continue to count on their people as resources, I certainly think that she could fulfill that role if she's not technical. She's
So
paying attention to the people that are technical.
so my ignorance, more than probably my opinion, is does someone get to be a commander if they weren't first a soldier? And I mean, I've never been in the military, but I would assume that you have to excel as a soldier in order to command others. And I would like to have the opinion of I'm sure soldiers probably wouldn't respect a commander if again they've never been a soldier before. They've never had to do what soldiers do, emotionally, physically, etc. And so the same kind of thought process, because maybe I don't think I've had a super awesome uh, manager that was not a programmer at one time. Is I find it hard to appreciate, almost said respect, but hard to appreciate that someone that is managing developers that's supposed to remove barriers and that's supposed to make quote unquote decisions that are based on the technical side of business. I guess I have a hard time appreciating them as people that were meant to manage versus them being selected. You know what I mean? So, translated, I find myself believing that a lot of managers that have no technical ability, they never program. Well,
Mm-hmm.
they're just part of the good old boy club. You know, they were given that job. They didn't earn that job, and so I mean, I don't want to come off like disrespectful, but I think it's something worth talking about. Is like in how many other industries, and maybe it's in a lot of industries, do you not have to excel from being, you know, that type of professional to managing those type of professionals but I see it all the time in software development, where you can be a accountant and you manage developers. And you, because you're the gatekeeper, you dismiss developers. Oh, they don't have MVVM experience. They don't have Caliburn Micro or whatever buzzword. I'm like, but you're not a programmer. Like, and you don't even know what that even means. Like, you're the only reason you have your job is because your boy gave it to you. Like, I don't know.
Well, all right. So there are certain you mix in quite a few things there, and it all makes perfect sense. I follow you perfectly, believe it or not. But I want to try to break those apart.
I'm
So
listening.
certainly it is the case that will have advantageous relationships to get them in positions and places that they did not earn or deserve. And there's just nothing you can do about that. That's just the way, like we discussed earlier, politics, humans, that's just how it works. As that exists, that doesn't mean that every time someone has a position of management, that is how they got it, that no one has that job based on merit. And so I agree with you that we would want to reduce the number of people that have things that they didn't earn. But I do think it's okay to get something that you didn't earn, but you deserved it, if that makes sense. Um, so, take for example, my wife works for a major corporation, and she hates the software that they have to use. Time she says company X has the worst software developers ever in the whole fucking world. I look at what you do on a daily basis. I overhear you listening to these Uncle Bob videos. I see you reading these Martin Fowler books. I see you Beck stuff. And she goes through all the stuff and she knows all of my routines, all the stuff that I do. She understands the value of testing when I'm teaching my grandson tests and all these things. So she's there. I certainly believe that if she had the position of managing developers, she would absolutely excel at it. That she's never written a day of code. She's never written a line of code a day in her life. And it's because she has exposure to that space. She understands the value in tests. And even if she can't say this is how you would write one, she knows better than to try to proceed without a solid test suite. And so if she is your Scott, she's your boss, and she's like, Scott, we have to get some tests in here. I know they're important, but I don't know how to do it. To get the team to improve these tests, I don't think you would kick back against that. As long as she is making the right decisions, it doesn't matter how she knew to make them. But if she's relying on you and she's like, okay, Scott, we need to do these tests, so on and so forth, but the team has been abrasive to it. How can we get this done? And saying, because take the opposite of what you're saying. She's like, testing, we need integration tests, we need some unit tests.
That
But
hasn't
all
been
the
my
developers are
experience,
like, fuck
except
you,
for
you
the
ain't a
current.
programmer. What'd you say?
Yeah. That hasn't been my experience, except for the current gig that I'm at right now, and that's because she's been burnt.
What I'm saying, take it as a thought exercise. That's my point.
Yeah, yeah.
Just say that the person is telling you, say it's my wife, and she's like, Scott, we got to get these tests in. I've been telling my team this for 3 months, but since I'm not a developer, they don't think we should do tests because they don't value my opinion because I'm not a developer. You can see, just if you think through that exercise, she has the correct message. And if she's a developer or not, doesn't make her information more or less true. What she says is true. And if the other developers don't want to listen to her because she's not a developer, they're only hurting themselves and the organization. So the point is, truth is, it doesn't matter who says it. Now, if she's saying a bunch of wrong shit and she's not listening to people and she's not learning and she's not taking things into account, then of course now she doesn't deserve the job because she's poor with it.
So that applies towards all industries then.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's
Okay.
also it's people that have jobs that they didn't earn, but once they got in it, they did
Yeah.
such a good job
Environmental Protection
that
Agency, the Secretary of Education.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm moving on from all that, bro. You say we're gonna talk about functional
Okay.
programming.
Okay. Ah.
But man, congratulations in your new role. But you didn't really answer my question. What's it like to work with the women there? Like, how was that experience different than things you have noticed earlier in your career, or is it any different?
um. Uh. Well, there's a couple things. I mean, we already started the subject on colors, so why not? There's a
Yeah,
couple
why
things.
not?
One, they're all women.
Uh huh.
Two, they're all minorities. There's there's no quote unquote mainstream, uh, for lack of a better term, profiles
Okay.
within the IT that I'm working in. So to answer your question, uh, it it feels, and this isn't always the case. I mean, I've worked in small teams. Actually, that's where I met, two of my mentors, where things were great and we all had the same vision, right?
Uh
But
huh.
to answer your question, one is, I think they do more listening than they do trying to get their point across. At the same time, I think subconsciously, or no, consciously, I think I go out of my way to understand probably more than I would if they were guys, what their concerns are with with what I'm trying to help them with, or a decision that I express that I would like their feedback on. And that's something I try to do a lot. Is when I pretty much like foreign policies, I then kind of like, does that make sense to you guys? Does it sound stupid? What what can we take about what I said, or the intent of why I said it, and make it even better, And I just, to make a long story short, I think they're more receptive, and they're more willing to collaborate versus just working with a whole bunch of mainstream dominant males that are trying to basically establish themselves or establish their resumes versus establish the actual code base for being maintainable and sustainable.
So it sounds like you're in a really good situation then.
I like it, man. I'm here in Miami. I don't have to purchase $600 plane tickets to fly out of some hick town back to Miami. Like, I'm I make decisions, so I'm writing F sharp code. And they're like, I don't know F sharp. I'm like, it's okay. It's in here now. You're going to pick it up.
Man, that's what's up, man. That's cool. So now all
Yeah.
we got to do is get you to stop fighting with the police, and you can
I
live a
lead
long, prosperous life.
every Thursday. I lead a reading group on the book X Unit Test Patterns, and we go over about three
Oh,
chapters.
nice,
I answer their
nice.
questions. They have rebuttals. And then I draw from my experience of what happened. Or then I'll be like, look at this current code base. This is a prime example of a code smell or a test smell. So, I mean, things are cool.
Well, good,
But,
man. I'm proud of you, and I'm happy to hear
yeah,
it too.
yeah.
All right, I got to get off of here, Scott. Man, I really enjoyed chopping it up with you. We got to do this more often, man. You just kicked me to the curb for
I
two,
think I
three
kicked you
months
to
at
the
a time.
curb.
Then you dig me back up.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's
I
cool. I ain't tripping,
realize I'm the one that reaches out to you.
man. Cause I reach you. You too important, bro. I just have to wait my time.
Okay, okay, okay. Well, I appreciate you taking out the time to say what's up. We
Yeah,
went
man, I do. I
scattered
gotta
on.
go, but I want to ask you real quick though. But I do have to run because I got to get these kids some dinner. Man,
Yeah.
what's the Lambda cartel all about, man? I need to
Oh, maybe you
explain
should
it
talk
to me. You
to
can write it to me, man. Yeah, what's that all about?
Pablo's
Because I
probably
love
the
that
one.
name.
Yeah, we actually Odie. Are you familiar with Odie? I don't know
Nope.
his last name. Odie
I don't
is
know
he's going to be on Developer on Fire soon as well. He was on Functional Geekery. Odie stays in Nigeria. He's a F sharp guru. Um, I don't know. Have you listened to any of the podcast shows for Lambda Cartel?
I have not.
Maybe you should check that out. Anyway, Lambda Cartel was basically formed based on wanting to document our learning experiences within based on using functional technologies.
You say
So
functional, you mean F sharp specifically, or all
functional,
the functional link? Okay.
functional in general. So Project Nikeza is the open source project that the Lambda Cartel started on, and that the front end is using Elm, and the back end is in F sharp.
Damn, that's sweet.
And so there's podcasts, there's videos, and I mean, you could go to GitHub, Nikeza, you can go to Lambda Cartel, you'll see YouTube videos on them having design discussions. They also have podcast shows.
So you
And
keep
so,
saying they. Are you not part of it?
uh, I kind of like I'm on the fence right now.
What, they kicked you out? You was in there cutting up, so they had to get rid of you. I bet that's what happened. What you do, bro?
Well, maybe it's like Steve Jobs. I mean, I'm the one that founded it. I actually got everybody and asked them if they would be interested in doing something for the next 2 to 3 months.
So
But
you founded it.
yeah.
Okay.
But I wanted.
They kicked you out.
No, I silently just stopped being active with them. I just focused on Project Nikeza because we had
It's some drama going on. You don't want to tell me about it, but
it's no drama. It's no drama. I expressed it when I was talking to Sean on my YouTube channel. I wanted the Lambda Cartel to be focused on really being an open source organization, in which if we're an open source organization, well, we are actually writing code and we're delivering features. And I found that, there's always 3 sides to a story, but I observed that there wasn't what I felt enough priority on actually building or solving a business problem through code. But I felt that people were really enjoying the whole podcast side of it. But but even though I see a lot of value in that, I see even more value in actually delivering. And so there's a difference between talking about software and how awesome we are versus demonstrating it. There's one thing to talk about it. There's nothing to do it. And I felt that as much as I would try to lead by example, as much as I would try to ask about the status of what people got done, I felt like it was pretty futile. And so because I didn't really represent my vision of actually consistently committing code, I decided that, well, I think I started something really great, but this isn't really aligning with what I wanted the Lambda Cartel to stand for, which is writing code and consistently delivering. And that's something that I wasn't observing. So I decided to basically no longer be as active as I was within the actual cartel. But I mean, you could look at my commits to Nikeza. I do it every single day, until I finally ship it. And then I'll get it on my resume. Now I move on to bigger, better things. So
that's what's up. What's the website, man? What's the URL for it?
For the Lambda Cartel, or you're talking about Nikeza?
Yeah, for Lambda Cartel. I figured I could find all the other stuff through.
That's a good question. I don't think the website is out there yet. You can go to the Lambda Cartel on GitHub. I'll throw in the notes, or I'll reach out to Pablo, and he'll toss you the link to what he has so far for the website.
Okay, that'll work, bro.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if I answered your question, but
You did. You answered it perfectly, and I got in on the little scoop on the drama that's going on inside
it's no
of the Landon
drama.
cartel.
It's
Hey,
just
I'm just tripping, bro.
it's
Yeah, I
just
really like that
difference.
name for sure,
Yeah, it's
and I like
cool.
what y'all trying to be about too.
I feel like we're going to receive an indictment soon.
No, I ain't got no
But it's
powers like
cool.
that, bro.
What's cool about it is like we got to do it in Nigeria, we got to do it in Australia, we got to do it in Kansas City. I'm here in Miami. We got one in Puerto Rico, and so like it's we're pretty diverse based on the different areas that we come from. And I mean,
Yeah,
it's some really smart people, man. It's just trying to corral them or herd them
yeah,
to
yeah,
focus on one thing.
yeah. Give it time; it'll all come together. All right, man.
Yeah.
These kids is down here. I'm out of here. They look like they finna microwave something. So I appreciate you reaching out, bro. And yeah, let's do this more often, man. I appreciate all the love you've been showing the brother. I really
All
do.
right, Terrence, it's been real. I appreciate it. Thanks.
All right,
Take
man.
care.
Congrats on the job, man.
Hey,
Take care.
yo, bye.
Bye.
Stop broadcasting.